There are moments in Game of Thrones where power doesn't shift through armies, dragons, or loud confrontations. Sometimes the most important shift happens quietly, in a single room, between two people who think they understand each other. One of the most surprising examples is what happened in Winterfell, when Arya Stark, a girl many still saw as unpredictable and emotional, managed to outsmart Peter Baelish, the realm's most calculated manipulator. How did a girl raised far from politics see through the same tricks that fooled kings, queens, and entire kingdoms? And why did Littlefinger, who built his entire life on reading people, fail to read Arya at the very moment he needed to? The answer lies in the clash of two completely different ways of thinking: Littlefinger's method of controlling emotions and twisting relationships, and Arya's method of watching quietly and drawing conclusions from patterns that other people ignored. When Arya returned to Winterfell, she wasn't the child Littlefinger remembered from King's Landing. She didn't react quickly. She didn't speak unnecessarily. She didn't trust easily. Years of training had sharpened her ability to separate truth from emotion, and she now relied more on observation than conversation. But Littlefinger didn't notice any of this. He assumed Arya was still led by her feelings, still eager to protect her family without thinking, still vulnerable to manipulation. That assumption blinded him from the start. He tried to use an old trick: introduce a dangerous piece of information and let the resulting argument weaken a relationship. The letter Sansa wrote under Lannister pressure became his weapon. He placed it exactly where Arya would find it, expecting her to turn on Sansa immediately. But Arya didn't get angry the way Littlefinger predicted. Instead of reacting to the message, she studied the timing. Why was the letter suddenly appearing now, after years of being forgotten? Why did Littlefinger seem more attentive, more available, and more watchful every time she spoke to Sansa? Arya didn't see the letter as proof of betrayal. She saw it as evidence of manipulation. And once she reached that conclusion, the rest of Littlefinger's plans started to unravel in front of her. Arya began observing everything Littlefinger did, not just what he said. She watched where he walked, when he whispered to his informants, how often he appeared outside a door right after a tense moment, and how carefully he acted concerned while stirring conflict. Every small movement pointed toward the same truth: the tension between the sisters wasn't natural. Someone was engineering it. Winterfell helped her investigation in a way Littlefinger didn't anticipate. Arya grew up in those halls. She knew every staircase, every shadow, every place someone might hide. Littlefinger thought he was the only person in the castle comfortable working in the dark, but Arya moved through the dark far better than he ever could. She followed him silently, blending into corners and walkways he assumed were empty. She saw him retrieve the letter. She saw him hide information. She saw him engage in careful conversations that always circled back to reinforcing doubt. While others depended on his guidance, Arya depended on what she could see with her own eyes. That made her immune to the usual tricks that had worked everywhere else. Littlefinger's entire strategy relied on repeating a pattern that had succeeded for years. He found tension between two people, fed the tension, then stepped in as a comforting advisor. It worked in the Vale, in King's Landing, in the Riverlands, everywhere he went. And because it always worked, he repeated the same pattern again in Winterfell. But this time Arya recognized the pattern instead of falling into it. She saw how conveniently he appeared when conversations went sour. She saw how he suggested interpretations that always pointed toward mistrust. She saw how he urged Sansa to worry about Arya while urging Arya to question Sansa. His behavior wasn't random. It wasn't genuine concern. It was predictable manipulation disguised as kindness. What Littlefinger didn't realize was that Sansa also held a part of the puzzle. She had lived under his influence for years, watching him twist the truth and disguise selfish motives as loyalty. She understood his political games better than Arya did. Arya, on the other hand, understood his physical behavior, his movements, his timing, the small gestures that revealed his intentions. On their own, each sister only had half the truth. But Littlefinger didn't consider that they might compare their observations. He believed their tension was real, not manipulated. He believed Arya mistrusted Sansa deeply. He believed Sansa would depend on him again. He believed the sisters were too disconnected to unite against him. That miscalculation was fatal. When Arya and Sansa finally spoke honestly, everything snapped into place. Arya explained the strange timing of the letter. Sansa connected those observations to years of Littlefinger's manipulations. Together, they recognized that Winterfell was just the latest target in a long chain of similar schemes. Littlefinger wasn't inventing a new plan. He was repeating an old one, confident nobody would notice. But both sisters noticed, just from different angles. That was something he never planned for. Arya's advantage during this entire conflict was that she didn't respond to words. Littlefinger built his reputation on talking people into the decisions he wanted. He knew how to sound gentle, worried, innocent, or protective depending on the situation. His voice was his greatest tool. But Arya didn't rely on his words at all. She focused only on what could be proven, where he went, who he met, what items he moved, and when he showed up. She didn't argue with him or ask for explanations. She simply kept watching. And that made her unreachable. Littlefinger couldn't manipulate someone who wasn't engaging with the emotional trap. As Littlefinger pushed harder, Arya didn't push back. She watched harder. The more he tried to twist the sisters' relationship, the more obvious the manipulation became. He used secrecy, but Arya traced his secrets. He used shadows, but Arya moved better in the shadows. He used tension, but Arya tracked who benefited from the tension. He used timing, but Arya recognized every moment he tried to interrupt. Every tactic he used turned into evidence against him. By the time Littlefinger realized he was losing control, Arya already understood everything. Her awareness had built a complete picture from the small clues he didn't bother hiding. Littlefinger believed Arya would react emotionally. Instead, she analyzed him the way a trained observer analyzes a target. Littlefinger believed Arya and Sansa were too far apart to share information. Instead, they quietly combined everything they knew. Littlefinger believed repeating his old methods would keep him safe. Instead, those methods exposed him. Arya outsmarted Littlefinger because she didn't try to beat him at manipulation. She beat him by refusing to be manipulated. She didn't fall for distractions or emotional traps. She trusted what she saw, not what she was supposed to feel. And Sansa, who knew Littlefinger's history better than anyone, recognized the pattern the moment Arya pointed toward the real enemy. Together, they formed a unity Littlefinger never prepared for. His power came from isolating people. Their strength came from working together. In the end, Arya didn't defeat Littlefinger through politics or charm. She defeated him by understanding him better than he understood her. She recognized that his confidence came from people reacting blindly. She refused to react. She recognized that his influence came from controlling conversations. She refused to depend on conversations. She recognized that his success came from predictable patterns. She treated those patterns like a map. Every step he took revealed another clue. Every whisper he offered revealed another motive. Every attempt to divide the sisters pushed them closer together. Littlefinger believed he was the only person who understood how dangerous the world could be. Arya understood danger in ways he never imagined. And in the quiet halls of Winterfell, the hunters simply saw the predator before the predator saw her. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm always interested in what you think. Stay tuned for more content, and I'll see you in the next one.